you are looking for a combo that multiplies to A, which is 1, times C, which is 6. Here we go. That adds to B, 5. So the combo that we found is 2 and 3, right? You can start to make a list. 1 and 6, 2 times 3, 3 times, there's no integer, right? That multiplies positive 6. Since I know all values are positive, I'm only dealing with positive numbers. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So 2 times 3 is positive 6. 2 plus 3 is 5. So then I have x plus 2, x plus 3. That's my answer. But if you're not sure if you did it right, you can always distribute, right? And when you do that and you simplify and you combine your like terms, you get your original problem. So we know we factored correctly. Okay, for this next one, we're looking for combos that multiply to A, 3, times C, 8, which is positive 24. That add to B, negative 14. So I first make a list of all positive values that multiply to 24. And since there's a negative in there, I know there's got to be some negatives in my answer. So 1 times 24 is 24, 2 times 12 is 24, 3 times 8 is 24, 4 times 6 is 24, 5 times no integer, so I cross it off, right, because there's a decimal. If I do 24 divided by 5. And again, if you're not sure how to make the list, take that number 24 divided by 2, and you're left with 12. Take 24 divided by 3, you're left with 8. Take 24 divided by 4, you get 6. Okay, so once I get those values, I know that if they multiply to a positive, and I know if I need some negatives in there, I know that they both have to be negative, because negative times negative is a positive, right? So negative 1 and negative 24 adds to negative 25. Negative 12 and negative 2 gets us negative 14. So that's the correct combo, negative 2 and negative 12. Now, if I took this and I thought I was done and I distributed, I would not get 3x squared minus 14x plus 8. So I know there's a few more steps. You can group or do the method that I use. So I'm going to do factors over front. The front number is 3. Simplify, swing out. 2/3 doesn't simplify, and if it did, whatever's left in your denominator, it goes in front of the x. So 3x minus 2. 12 over 3 simplifies, we get 4. So we're left with x minus 4. And if you FOIL distribute, you will get 3x squared minus 14x plus 8. Now for the next one, you're always looking for a GCF first, right? The other ones didn't have a GCF, anything that we could factor out that was in common between all terms. But if you look at these three terms, there's a 2 that you can take out. So 2 times what is 2x squared? X squared. 2 times what is 18? 9. 2 times what is 40? 20. Then I highlighted in blue this trinomial. All you look at is the blue and ask yourself, can I break it down? A times C, so 1 times 20 is 20. B is 9. Is there a combo that multiplies to positive 20 and adds to 9? So make your list. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3 times nothing, 4 times 5. Again, take that number that they're supposed to multiply to, 20, and divide it by 2, you're left with 10. 20 divided by 3, you get a decimal, so you cross off. 20 divided by 4, you get 5. So it's 4 and 5. I know they have to be positive because there's no negative in here. 4 times 5 is positive 20, and 4 plus 5 is 9. So over here, I did it in blue. The blue is what we had highlighted when we broke down the highlighted part. And then I put red, the original GCF, in front. I like to keep factoring and then in the very end just put the GCF in front that we took out in the beginning. It helps me, or else sometimes I get confused. Okay, number 8. So again, you always should see if there's anything in common that you can factor out. Here there is. You can take a 3x out, right? They all divide by 3, so I look at numbers first. Then I say, are there any variables? There's an x we can take out. 3x times x squared is 3x cubed. 3x times negative 2x is negative 6x squared. And 3x times 5 is 15x. Then I looked at the blue that was highlighted. I didn't pay attention to the 3x in front. So the blue part that was highlighted, I asked myself, could I factor that? Is there a combo that multiplies to A, which is a 1, times C, which is a 5? So is there a combo that multiplies to 5 that adds to negative 2? 1 and 5, 2 and nothing, 3 and nothing. Okay, if there's a negative, I know if they multiply to a positive, they would have to both be negative. Is negative 1 plus negative 5 negative 2? No. And 1 times 5 obviously isn't negative 2. So we can't factor further. We could only take out a GCF. Remember, sometimes you can factor further and sometimes you can't. Now number 11, difference of squares. When there's a minus in between two terms, you're going to try to factor difference of squares. Now you always look for GCF. There's no number or letter that we could take out. Then you ask yourself, if I can take the square root of both terms, then I can factor using difference of squares. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 100 is 10. So I wrote it twice, x and a 10, x and a 10. Difference of squares, the signs are different. If you were to FOIL and simplify, you would get your original, x squared minus 100. Notice over here, if you take the square root of x squared, you get x. Square root of 9 is 3. And if you wrote it 2 times, you would have x and a 3, x and a 3. You can't factor sum of squares when there's a plus in between. Let's say you weren't sure. If you put a plus sign and a minus sign and you distributed, you would get x squared minus 9. So that's not your original. If you put both negatives in between, you would get x squared minus 6x plus 9. That's not your original. If you put both positives, you get x squared plus 6x plus 9. That's not your original, okay? So, and same thing down here. Let's say you had x squared and 7. If you take the square root of x squared, you get x. But square root of 7 is a decimal, an irrational number, so you can't factor that any further, okay? Now let's look at the last highlighted one. You're going to do the non-highlighted ones as your classwork and submit. So if there's no GCF for number 12. If there was, I would take out the square root of 25x squared. Well, first let's look at the number. Square root of 25 is 5. The square root of x squared is x. Square root of 49 is 7. Okay, so I write 5x and 7, 5x and 7. Difference of squares, the signs are different. One's a positive, one's a negative. So if you were to distribute or FOIL out and simplify, you would get 25x squared minus 49. Remember, I'll be on Zoom at 11. If you have questions, send me an email if you can't come on at 11. And hopefully we can set up a time where we could go over any questions that you have. Remember that you're going to have a little assessment next week. And that's it. Okay, talk to you guys soon.